Today is January 22nd, 2021. This is a special meeting of the members of the State Liquor Authority being held in Albany and also remotely. Attending today are Chairman Bradley in the Albany office. We have Commissioner Fan and Commissioner Ford joining us remotely by video. Staff in attendance, we have General Counsel Meyerhoff by video. We have Deputy Commissioner of Licensing Roberts on the telephone.
I'm on, thanks.
And myself, Secretary Donahue in the Albany offices. We have 4 items on today's calendar. There were requests from Council's office for emergency orders of summary suspension. Chairman, do you have anything before we get going?
No, I don't.
All right, then. The first item is agenda number 00264Z, Kings RW 1252531, My Corral Restaurant, Inc.
Good afternoon, members of the authority. Michael Amarato from the Office of Counsel, and I respectfully submit the subject licensee, My Corral Restaurant, Inc., to members of the board to consider an emergency order of suspension pursuant to 401.3 SAPA. The premises is located at 5401 4th Avenue in Brooklyn, New York, which is a mixed-use area. The license was issued on May 16th, 2011. To operate as a restaurant with a beer and wine license. On January 20th at 11:30 p.m., the task force conducted an inspection at the licensed premises. They entered through an unmarked door, and the premises was clearly operating indoors with a stand-up bar way after 10 o'clock p.m. The investigators observed 2 patrons who were standing by the bar who were not wearing masks, and there was additionally 3 patrons who were seated at the bar, and they were all drinking beer from bottles that were being kept and chilled in a bucket that was on the bar. None of the individuals were socially distancing, nor were they wearing facial masks. The manager at the premises at the time was not wearing a mask as well. The investigator found that there was no food receipts, there was no menu, there was no utensils, there was no food in the kitchen, there was no food in refrigerators, there was no oil in the fryer, and there was no food in the steam tables. The manager stated that there was no food for sale because the refrigerator was broken, but the investigator also observed another working refrigerator that was chilling beer. During the course of the inspection, the licensee was unable to produce books and records, and they also observed nicotine hookah on the premises, which is not even permitted when you do have a hookah permit. There were criminal court summonses issued for being in violation of the mayor's executive order, and there was a patron there who, despite being asked to leave several times, he refused to leave until he finished his bucket of beers. During the course of the inspection, there was approximately 5 fire and safety issues observed, and those were noted included uninspected fire extinguishers, uninspected range hood, and obstructed fire extinguishers as well. The licensee is being charged with allegedly being in violation of 202.81, 202.3, 202.74, 202.16, 202.52, and for operating an unlicensed hookah establishment, along with those 5 fire and safety issue violations that were observed. There are no prior EO violations pending at this establishment. With respect to adverse history during the course of the past 5 years, there was 1 charge for disorderly premises. The licensee paid $3,500. And there was a second case for having an unlicensed security guard at the premises. And in that case, the licensee paid $2,500. So the licensee or the manager, they have chosen to ignore the governor and the mayor's executive orders. Since December 14th, indoor dining in New York City has been prohibited. When the task force arrived on January 20th, the door was unlocked after 10 o'clock, even if it was permissible. That was previously in place. And there were 6 patrons, some standing without masks and some seated, all of which were drinking beer. There was no social distancing, and even the manager wasn't wearing a mask. Investigator Stravali stated in his report that there was no food being served, nor was there any food available for sale. The manager stated that the refrigerator was broken, and that's the reason why there was no food. However, as I said earlier, there was a working refrigerator inside the premises which was being used to chill beer. So clearly, the licensee cannot be trusted to operate while these restrictions are in place. And licensee is an imminent risk to the public health, safety, and welfare. And council's office respectfully requests that the board summarily suspend this license. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, I'm all, thank you.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
And Chairman Bradley.
No, I don't have any questions.
All right, then. With that, I'm going to call for the vote of the members. First, Commissioner Fan.
Based on evidence submitted by Councilor Morado, it's clear that this licensee continues to violate the governor's executive order surrounding COVID-19 by allowing indoor service. There are various, perhaps other reasons why they should not be operating because they are creating imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, and I'm voting to summary.
Okay, Commissioner Ford, your vote, please.
Based on evidence presented by council, I'm voting to summarily suspend this license.
And Chairman Bradley. Chairman, I think you're muted.
Based on council's presentation, I'm voting to summarily suspend. It's clear this licensee is a risk to the public health, safety, and welfare.
All right, then. The next item I have on the calendar is 00264 AA, Queens AX 1194905. Licensee is Dordomi Deli Corp.
Good afternoon, members. This is Kayla O'Donnell on behalf of Council's office. As the report in the record before you depicts, on January 19th, 2021, SLA investigator Cervalli and the task force visited the licensed premises. Initially, an 18-year-old auxiliary officer went inside undercover and was sold a 12-ounce can of Coors Light without showing ID or even being questioned about his age. After the sale to the minor occurred, the task force entered the premises and observed 8 individuals, including the manager and cashier, standing and consuming beers. As the photos in the record before you depict, only one individual was wearing a mask, and he wasn't even wearing it correctly. He was wearing it under his nose. This individual was also observed sleeping while standing and leaning against a shelf, which had 3 open beers on the shelf. Neither the manager or the cashier were wearing face coverings. Notably, this is an AX license off premises, thus consumption on the premises is not allowed. As the other report in the record reflects, this is the licensee's second time being found allowing on-premise consumption. The first time was less than 1 year ago. It occurred on February 24th, 2020. During the inspection of the premises, a bag was found full of untaxed cigarettes, and there are photos of this in the record, as well as photos of the prescription medications being illegally and kept and sold by licensee. Some of these medications include Viagra, Cialis, and antibiotics. Both sale of untaxed cigarettes and sale of prescription medications are illegal whether or not you're a licensed establishment in New York. The licensee is being charged with sale to a minor 18 or under, failure to display their pregnancy and prohibited sale signs, untaxed cigarettes, improper conduct for the prescription drugs, consumption on the premises, and for violating executive orders 202.16 and 202.41. This licensee has shown a total disregard for all laws, criminal, ABCL, executive orders, or otherwise. Allowing this lawless licensee to operate while the charges are litigated would endanger the health, safety, and welfare of the licensee's customers, employees, and their families, as this licensee has shown an inability to comply with even the most basic executive orders. As such, an emergency order of summary suspension is required. Thank you.
All right, then. Commissioner Fan, any questions?
Kayla, do they have any adverse history?
They have the case that I mentioned briefly, which involves the consumption on the premises from February 24th, 2020. No, that case also involved a failure to post the pregnancy warning sign.
Okay. And then there was nothing before the February 24 report.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Ford, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Chairman Bradley, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
All right, I'll get to vote of the members. First, Commissioner Fan.
Based on evidence presented by Council O'Donnell, this location is violating the governor's executive order surrounding COVID-19. This location, for multiple reasons, is an imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, and I'm voting to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford, your vote, please.
This licensee is obviously violating several conditions for their class of license, not to mention executive order violations. So I'm voting to summarily suspend this licensee.
And Chairman Bradley.
I'm voting to summarily suspend based on council's presentation. It's clear that this licensee's violating multiple executive orders and is a risk to the public health, safety, and welfare.
All right, then the next item I have is 00264BB, Richmond OP 1328099, Mezzanotte, Staten Island, LLC.
Yeah, Tom, it's Gary. Let me interrupt for a second and introduce Michael Nyer, who's a prosecutor who joined us recently in our New York City office, Zone 1, and I believe this is his first presentation to the board. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Gary. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be working here. It's great so far. So good afternoon, members of the authority. As Gary said, my name is Michael Nyer, counsel's office. I'm appearing today in support of our application for an emergency order of summary suspension against this licensee. The license was issued in October of 2020. This past Wednesday, the 20th, SLA inspectors arrived at the location, which is a restaurant with full liquor privileges, 1657 Richmond Road in Staten Island. The investigators noticed that there was a rooftop structure on the second story to the left if you're looking at the building from the street. They entered the building on the right side, walked up a flight of stairs, and immediately to the left is where the rooftop structure is. So it's a rectangular shaped kind of build out. The entrance where they came in from is off to is the actual building. So that's one of the short sides of the rectangle, and the other three sides are all covered with a metal frame, fabric, and plastic coverings all around. It's a pretty, sophisticated structure compared to what we see all around the city and other parts of the state. It had wood floors, has lighting everywhere, and a heating system with ducts that pump in the heat. As I said, it was this past Wednesday, the 20th, which is been pretty cold lately, and the patrons that were in there looked pretty comfortable. Everybody had comfortable clothes on, some short sleeves. The investigators immediately noticed there was at least 50 patrons in that structure at tables eating and drinking, and most of the tables were less than 6 feet apart there. The plastic parts of the three sides that were not part of the building had these like plexiglass window cutouts, but they were all closed at the time. And the investigators unsure if they all opened or any of them opened, but they were closed when they were there. The staff that was there immediately started opening some of them, or tried to open some of them, when the investigator announced himself. Obviously, indoor dining is not allowed in New York City right now. This structure does not meet the requirements of an outdoor structure with all the enclosed sides, and this licensee is showing a disregard for those executive orders by the governor's office. The licensee is being charged with violations of EOs 202.13 202.83 and 202.81. And in addition, the trade name that the licensee uses is Bocce, which is displayed on the front awning and the building and inside throughout, which is an unauthorized name and is not on the license. And so they're being charged with that as well, and an overall failure to supervise by the principal, who was not there when the investigation occurred. There is a pending EO violation having to do with employees and the lack of facial coverings. That was the investigation took place in early December, December 1st, I believe it was. There was a CNC that was recently sent in by the licensee for $1,500 civil penalty that's currently pending, and there is no other adverse history besides that. So based on the foregoing and everything that was mentioned, including the pending executive order violation, it is council's office recommendation that the license here be summarily suspended. It's clear that there is a disregard by this licensee for the executive orders, specifically related to the attempting to stop the spread of the COVID virus. And based on SAPA 4013, we believe this should be the license should be suspended. Thank you.
With that, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
Hi, Mike. It's Lily Fan. Welcome to the agency. What a incredible time to join us. Bravo for that decision.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So these pictures is reflecting the restaurant on the rooftop?
Yes. Yes.
And so was this a multi-level restaurant?
Yeah. If you think of a long one-story building with only half of the building having a second story and the second half to the left of it just flat, on the flat part they built this rooftop structure.
Okay, and the restaurant is in the actual, it's the whole building, the long building with that second floor area, or no?
The restaurant is actually on the ground floor, the complete length of the building, or I should say the width of the building. And
Okay.
then the staircase to go up to access that rooftop is on the right side. So the dining happens really on the ground floor on the regular, conventional dining.
And so is this rooftop technically part of the licensed premise or no?
Yes, they were approved for an alteration when their license was approved back in October for the rooftop, but it looked much different than it does now. It was basically just the open air tents, as you see, like you would see normally during the summertime.
Okay, got it. And they were operating with a temp for a while?
They were the license was transferred over to them. There was a prior restaurant there called Mario's, and they had a temporary license from I believe it was April or May to October of last year.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Ford, any questions?
First of all, welcome aboard, Mike, to the SLA.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Nice job dancing there on Commissioner Fan's questions. So she'll fire him at you, so get used to it, okay?
I watched a lot on YouTube, so I was ready.
Good. So this structure, I looked at it. I mean, it looks beautiful. I mean, but it is nonetheless, unfortunately, indoors at this time.
Yeah.
And as you said, you answered my question, was it licensed? And apparently it was. So,
yeah.
So, okay, I'm good. I don't have any further questions. Thank you again.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
Chairman Bradley, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
All right, with that, I'll call for the vote of the members. First, Commissioner Fan.
Based on presentation by Council Nair, it's clear that this location is in violation of the governor's executive order surrounding COVID-19 by allowing indoor service. And this indoor service is creating an imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, and I'm voting to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford.
Based on evidence presented by council, I don't think I have any choice but to vote to summarily suspend this licensee for violating executive orders as well. So I vote to suspend.
Chairman Bradley.
So just so the record is clear here, the pictures here tell the entire story. This is, as council said, a sophisticated structure that arguably is semi-permanent. And there is absolutely no question that this is 100% indoors. And the reason that you can see that clearly in the pictures is because we are in the middle of January. The large, and when I say large majority, I mean 95% of the people in these pictures are not wearing coats. And not only that, and a good number of them are actually in short sleeves in the middle of January, allegedly eating outside. So it's clear that this is an inside dining experience that this restaurant has created, and unfortunately it's currently illegal. So it's clear to me that this licensee has violated the executive orders and has become a risk to the public health, safety, and welfare, and I'm going to vote to summarily suspend.
All right, then next item I have is 00264CC, Kings OP 1279813, Dessert Palace Bose, Inc.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Mark Frering on behalf of council's office. This licensee is located on Emmons Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. It was first licensed in 2014. Last night, investigators found the licensee in violation of Executive Order 202.81 by allowing indoor dining. There were two structures set up. The first smaller structure had 8 people in it that were dining and drinking. It had a ventilation fan, but this does not constitute outdoor service. New York City restaurants were required to have interior ventilation for indoor dining and operated that way with 25% capacity until indoor dining was suspended again on December 14th. The second structure is merely an extension of the interior premises out further onto the sidewalk. It had 28 patrons in it, dining and drinking, and it was completely walled off. It has windows, but that doesn't constitute outdoor dining. For outdoor service under a fixed roof structure, you have to have 2 sides completely open. This licensee, this is the third EO violation case for this licensee since June of 2020. The first one involved permitting patrons to congregate outdoors at tables before outdoor dining was permitted. The second one involved employees not wearing face masks. Not guilty pleas are on file with the authority, and those 2 cases remain open and pending. By permitting indoor dining during the pandemic, this licensee has created conditions that are conducive to the spread of the virus, and council's office is therefore respectfully requesting an emergency order of summary suspension in order to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, I have no questions. Thank you, Mark.
Commissioner Ford, any questions?
Yeah, Mark, I missed it. When did you say that they were licensed?
2014.
Both of these areas, these structures, are they currently licensed for them under normal circumstances, these areas?
Well, they're licensed for a patio.
Okay. Which structure was on the patio? The first?
Well, I don't know whether,
I'm sorry.
I mean, the way they put it in their application was that the dining would be within the building facade. So this is much more expanded, a much greater expanded area than what they had originally put in their application.
So might there also be some unauthorized alteration involved in all of this ultimately?
Well, I think that they, during the COVID pandemic, we allowed licensees to expand onto the sidewalk, well, within certain parameters. So it's not necessarily a violation for that.
Okay, all right. I wasn't suggesting one either. I was just asking. Thank you. Any further questions?
Chairman Bradley, any questions?
I have no questions.
All right, with that, I'll call for the vote of the members. First, Commissioner Fan.
By Council Faring, this location violating the governor's executive orders is continuing to allow indoor service and in therefore creating an imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, and I'm voting to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford, your vote, please.
Again, it's another case of a very nicely done place, just unfortunately not in compliance at this time. So I have no other choice but to vote to summarily suspend.
Chairman Bradley, your vote, please.
I vote to summarily suspend. It's clear this licensee has become a risk to the public health, safety, and welfare.
All right, then, Chairman, I have nothing else on the calendar. Do you have anything else?
No, I don't have anything else. Have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you.
All right, with that, this meeting is adjourned.